Hello, Spider-Man fans! We've got a lot to talk about within the sphere of the MCU, specifically pertaining to Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4, because we just got a recent article that gives us an idea of the direction Marvel is wanting to go in concerning the street-level heroes. And even though our favorite web-slinger has fought a purple alien, been to space, even dealt with multiverses, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is set to finally be cleaning up the streets of New York in Spider-Man 4, and that's exactly what I'll be doing here for you guys, is just breaking down this article of latest details involving Spider-Man 4 along with how it's affecting the overall MCU. But I'm also going to want to hear from you guys, man. It's about time we finally get some nice juicy Spider-Man news to talk about. Still no idea when we're officially getting this movie, when they plan to start shooting it, but we have already heard from Kevin Feige himself. They have plans, they're writing the script. It's gonna be happening sooner or later. But first, I want to go ahead and thank the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point so you can build great habits without breaking the bank. I've been trying to get back into the gym, be a little healthy with myself, and Raycon earbuds has made that experience so much more enjoyable. Not only do I love their small compact design, the earbuds also just sit so comfortably in my ears. Not to mention they're also sweat and water resistant. On one simple charge, you'd have up to 32 hours of battery life with these things. Also love the fact that you're able to control your music and sound profiles through just pushing the button on the side. It gives you complete access to Siri or Alexa, whoever your AI device is. They also have themselves a wide variety of colors to choose from, so you're bound to find a color that perfectly suits you. And while they're also great for noise isolation, they also have an awareness mode, so if you're running everyday errands, you're not completely blacked out from everything going on around you. So you ready to buy something small with a big impact? Click the link in my description box or go to buyraycon.com/3C Films to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. With these being only a fraction of the price as other competitors and delivering great quality, it's kind of a no-brainer why you should buy some. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Alright, before we even jump into things, I do have to address the one thing a lot of people have been asking my opinion on, the Jonathan Majors situation. I think by now most MCU fans who keep a pulse on the news have heard about this incident, where over the weekend Jonathan Majors was arrested in response to a call concerning domestic abuse. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because, as you guys know, we are not a gossip channel. We deal with movie news, but every now and then we find ourselves in a situation where outside drama in the real world affects our movie news. So all I have to say on the situation is I think it is just too early right now to see how it is going to affect the movie world, and I don't even think that should be the biggest concern right now, because according to these reports, it's saying a woman was hospitalized, and then to just jump on YouTube and go, okay guys, what is Kevin Feige gonna do? We got so many variants, right? Options, right? Just doesn't feel like the right thing. I feel like my mama would call me and say, I raised you better than that, Christopher. That and the fact that it's a developing story with Jonathan Majors' lawyer saying that they have video evidence proving his innocence, eyewitness reports from a third party, and the woman who was hospitalized also putting it in writing that it was a misunderstanding. So for those reasons alone right now, I am just going to be waiting to see what the news cycle has to inform us about the situation, whether this will affect his career in the MCU, which would be such a disappointing shame. It's never fun to find out the actors and celebrities you look up to are actually scummy people, or maybe this was a misunderstanding and Jonathan Majors can continue being king. But okay, putting that aside now, getting back to a silly, goofy mood here, talking about Spider-Man, as we love to do, we had an article come out from Cosmic Circus that is quickly becoming a reliable source, in my opinion. Over the past couple of months, I've seen them report on things that end up coming to fruition, and they busted out an article titled, What I Heard, Kingpin's Rise to Power. These What I Heard articles from Cosmic Circus are usually from journalists who get the inside scoop, hearing rumors about what's happening within the industry, and then reporting on it with some of their own theories and speculation. This one in particular dealing with the Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, who we already know is confirmed to be returning in Daredevil Born Again. And in the article they mention here, according to our sources, the rumors regarding Fisk seeking a political seat are true. However, this plot point will not occur only in one project and immediately be resolved in the same project. The storyline of Fisk seeking a mayoral seat of New York City will be explored in many projects directly while potentially affecting other projects indirectly. So it looks here like what Marvel is trying to do with the Kingpin character is adapt a couple of familiar storylines in the comics, one in particular, Devil's Reign. This was a storyline in the comics where the Kingpin himself decided to rise in power in New York City, running for mayor so that he could outlaw vigilantes in the city. This opens the door for such unique, interesting storylines that they can now play out into the MCU. Because even in the comics, Kingpin becoming mayor of New York City has like a butterfly effect that affects so many other other people. And that's exactly what the MCU is trying to do here, have this one thing that we'll see expanded upon either in Echo, most likely him starting up his campaign, getting ready for it, and then in Daredevil Born Again, actually running for mayor, possibly getting elected, and coming to that point in time where he's like, all right, superheroes not allowed in New York City. Bringing it back to the article here, they expand further that several of our sources have informed us that Kingpin's true motive for his mayoral campaign is to crack down on the work of street-level vigilante that could threaten his rule. While there are a number of characters in Fisk's list, some old, some new, we're being told by our sources that characters like Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Matt Murdock, and Spider-Man are at the top of Fisk's list of vigilantes. You know, at first it kind of threw me off to have Hawkeye and Kate Bishop in there. I understand Kate because she's like centered in New York and now she's had this whole archery thing going on for her, but then I was like, oh yeah, they had a whole big conflict that went down in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. That still to me felt like such a random mashup, such a weird introduction. The MCU finally has Kingpin back and they decide to just introduce him for a few episodes in Hawkeye. It didn't feel right to me. If anything, I was kind of disappointed with the use of Kingpin in that series, but it looks here like it's the workings Kevin Feige does. He is planting the seeds for little things, little interactions that'll be much bigger down the line. And Kingpin's interactions with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop in that series is gonna what ultimately leads him to go, I need to get rid of all these vigilantes. So okay, if that's where we stand right now and that's kind of the plan that they have, what does that mean then for Spider-Man 4? Is it just going to be a situation of Kingpin's like, all right, mass vigilante out of my city, and the police hunt down Spider-Man? Not so much. In the article they mention here, we're told that this will leave Fisk no choice but to likely outsource his matters to a number of contractors to handle the vigilante crisis in New York City. We're also been told that this is potentially a plot point for the upcoming Spider-Man 4 film. There you go. As we have Daredevil Born Again happening and we're seeing that rise of power for Kingpin, once that series is done and we eventually find ourselves in Spider-Man 4, Kingpin is now mayor. He's going to be putting that law into place, and if there's superheroes out there that don't want to follow that law, Civil War style, Kingpin will then set up a task force of contractors, basically villains, to go after these vigilantes and take them down. This is also something that happened in the Devil's Reign comic. In fact, it was a Thunderbolt task force made up of supervillains who had government approval to go after these superheroes because they weren't listening to the new laws. And some classic Spider-Man villains were in there as Thunderbolt recruits. You know, you had Kraven the Hunter, Rhino, but like we've already seen before, when it comes to the MCU, they'll change things or just take inspiration and do their own thing. This, I feel, is the perfect gateway to finally give us the Scorpion, Matt Gargan, who was teased all the way back in Spider-Man Homecoming, and be a contract for hire to take down Spider-Man. This would also set up a really good reason for why Spider-Man and Daredevil would team up in Spider-Man 4. That's like the wish list most fans are having right now with the upcoming Spider-Man 4 movie. We know Marvel and Sony have this contract that whenever they come out with a new Spider-Man MCU film, it is required that they bring in one MCU character to kind of team up with Spider-Man in the movie. I don't know why, that's just the way Sony wanted it. We had Iron Man, we had Nick Fury, and then we had Doctor Strange. Spider-Man 4, fans are hoping it's Daredevil. And this storyline right here of them two having to team up so that they're not taken down by all these hired supervillains, I think is perfect. You also know that like J. Jonah Jameson is most likely going to be brought back in here. He's going to be a huge supporter of Kingpin, probably donating a bunch of his supplement money to Wilson Fisk in order to stop the vigilantes in there. And in the comics, I mean, it was J. Jonah Jameson who kind of funded Scorpion's mechanical costume to then go fight Spider-Man. I also think this would be a good introduction for Kraven the Hunter in here. I know they have Aaron Taylor Johnson in his own spin-off solo universe, but it's like, man, Sony already stole the Vulture from us. If the MCU is gonna follow what Sony did there, let's just give our own multiverse version of Kraven the Hunter to Spider-Man. But it would also be a great reason to have multiple villains in there, a lot of classic street level Spider-Man characters showing up to fight him. And heck, I'm even gonna throw a curveball in there. We still don't know exactly how much the Netflix series is tying into current day MCU. So many conflicting conflicting reports about whether it is canon, it's loosely canon, it's a soft reboot. In my mind, I'm thinking that that is just a multiverse version, and that the new Matt Murdock we're seeing in Daredevil Born Again is an extremely similar version with maybe a few backstory changes. But the main reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like this could also be a great way to have Punisher John Bernthal also show up in Spider-Man 4. Do not forget the infamous comic book cover of the Punisher aiming at Spider-Man, wanting to take him down, because in that issue, he was a hired contract believing that Spider-Man was a villain and that he needed to take him down. This is maybe how we can see the Punisher used in Spider-Man 4. A hired contract thinking that these are bad people breaking the law, which is what the Punisher is kind of all about. You don't break the law or you get a bullet to the head. And then we can have some sweet interactions with Frank Castle versus Spider-Man. I would love that. Now, if we want to go ahead and kind of look past Spider-Man 4 and how this event affects other MCU movies, because it gets a little bigger. It isn't just Devil's Reign that this article was referencing. They're saying here that Marvel is also planning to take inspiration from Dark Reign. This comic event took place after Secret Invasion, which we know is something that's up and coming in Marvel right now, where the government was kind of cracking down on a lot of the superheroes out there and then actually gave a lot of power to supervillains, leading us to the Dark Avengers, where Norman Osborn essentially became the leader of the Avengers. And that could be something that Marvel is maybe headed towards, okay? It isn't just Spider-Man 4 that they're saying this Kingpin storyline is going to affect. They also mentioned things like Captain America New World Order and the Thunderbolts. You know, I mentioned in Devil's Reign, Kingpin had this Thunderbolt task force to take down vigilantes who weren't listening. What if they implement this rule worldwide? What if they're taking down vigilantes that the government doesn't approve of, and that's going to be the storyline of the Thunderbolts? Maybe them going after a bunch of superheroes that don't want to listen. And it also isn't just Kingpin becoming mayor of New York City. That was just one stepping stone in the comics. His grand plan was to become president of the United States. We know the president of the United States in Captain America New World Order is going to be General Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford. I can pretty much bet you whatever happens at the end of Captain America 4, Sam Wilson Captain America is going to be victorious, going to be the good guy, and is probably going to get Thunderbolt Ross taken out of presidency, meaning we're eventually going to need a new president, and that could maybe be where Kingpin steps in and be the president of the MCU. Oh, that would be crazy. But this is where I throw it off to you guys. You hear all these details involving Kingpin's plans and what the MCU is maybe looking to do. Do you like this setup for Daredevil Born Again going into Spider-Man 4 and how it affects other projects? As well as if you think there's anything you can add on in terms of speculation and theory. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3CFilms or on TikTok at 3CFilms. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.